So you should have already watched parts 1 through 3 of Saving Private Ryan. Specifically, the Q&A that I'm doing today all ties into the scenes you saw in part 3 of the movie. Hopefully you also watched my intro and outro commentary there. So if you haven't done that, I'd recommend you go do that before answering this one. Two questions for you today. And I already kind of summed this up in the outro commentary for today's movie chunk. So I'll try not to be too lengthy here. But there was two big moral dilemmas. One, what do you do with that POW? You captured a German guy. He surrendered to you. He doesn't have his gun. He can't hurt you at that point. You don't have your whole army group, a whole division with you though, and you're not set up to take on and watch any prisoners of war. So with a very small, limited group of guys like Captain Miller had, and being behind German lines, if you were Captain Miller, what would you do with that German POW? Now, Captain Miller decides to just let him go. He doesn't want to have executing, and it would be an execution, not just killing in combat, but executing an enemy soldier. He doesn't want that on his conscience. So he ends up just letting him go and tells him to go turn himself in to the next American unit he sees. But as soon as he gets out of sight, what's the odds that an enemy soldier would actually do that? He probably won't, and he'll go link back up with the German army. What would you have done if you were in Captain Miller's shoes? Would you have taken the high road like he did and let that guy kind of off the hook? Or would you have done what his men wanted him to do and just execute him and shoot him? Now, if you shoot a guy in a situation like that that's already surrendered, it's a war crime. You're not supposed to do that. But in reality, what are the odds that you would actually get like prosecuted or caught for that? Chances are, unless one of your guys reported you, and even if that happened, at this point in the war, it was just going to look like one more dead enemy soldier. But you would still always know you did that, and you'd always have it weighing on your conscience. So, question one: if you're Captain Miller, what do you do with that German POW, and why? Give me your reasoning for whatever of those two decisions you would have made. Question two is, there's kind of a little like uprising within this small unit of guys after they release that POW, and Private Riben, Riben, basically says he's not playing anymore. He's done and he's checked out and he's done with this mission. Guess what? As an enlisted soldier, you're not allowed to do that. You have to follow orders. So that's not really an option. Now, Sergeant Horvath pulls out his pistol and puts it to Riben's head and says, "You are going to follow orders or I'm going to shoot you." And probably not quite that nice a way. So now Captain Miller ends up diffusing the whole thing. Kind of given his background and who he is, and it changes the subject, and then everybody ends up falling back in line. But let's say that didn't play out that way. If you really were in that situation, a combat situation behind enemy lines, and one of your soldiers is not following orders, would Sergeant Horvath, would Captain Miller, would either of those guys, the commanding officers, would they have had, would they have been within their rights to shoot one of their own soldiers that isn't following orders? So give me give me your answer on that, plus some reasoning why you believe that way. I'm going to give you a little bit of follow up on this one too. But for right now, I just want to leave it at that. You're behind enemy lines. You're a commanding officer. You have one of your own soldiers that's refusing to follow orders. What do? Do you shoot him? Do you just tell him, all right, go back up to the front and I'm going to file charges on you and you're going to get court-martialed or get a trial after the war? How would you handle that kind of a situation? Curious to hear what you guys come up with. All right, that's what I got for you for today's Q&A. Good luck.